Okay, so a little over 1 year ago, at the tail end of 2017, a small group of filmmakers, I believe there were 9 of us, in that first basement-esque meetup, connected over this commonality where we all had a craving to make narrative projects that weren't for anybody. We just wanted the freedom to explore this filmmaking shit that we had been thinking about forever, but hadn't really found the means to execute yet. 1 year later, we've made 12 short films collectively, and this group of 9 filmmakers has turned into 30 plus because the intents and the core philosophy of what we stand behind is really special. And it's hard to find in a place like Los Angeles. And so what we're going to celebrate tonight is the public launch of our very first short film, Mr. Mailman, written and directed by Taylor Schaffner.
Woo!
Yay. 15 months after we made the pact to start doing this together every month. So, let's quickly go around the room and introduce who's here to participate in this celebration.
I am Mr. Taylor Schaffner. Thank you, Chris.
I am Matt Davino.
Nicole Castillo.
And I'm Christopher Ryan Laughter. Hey, guys.
Amazing. Hey.
And David Gallardo's here engineering this podcast.
What up? How's it going?
Or DJ DG, as he's also known.
Name to be determined.
Okay, so let's discuss the film and what it's about. Taylor, why don't you tee us up? Tell us what the hell Mr. Mailman is all about.
I'm still trying to figure that out after all this time. Mr. Mailman is a cartoonish, plucky sort of dark comedy, kind of like Tim Burton-ish, that is about a very passionate mailman who loves his mail and loves his job to an insane extent. He's very good at it, and he comes across someone who's his probably his most difficult resident to deliver mail to, like the worst person on the entire block. And it's just a simple little conversation between these two individuals as he tries to get this person to sign for her package.
And how do you, Matt and or Nicole, like how do you guys interpret the story? Like that's Taylor's version of the story, but how do you guys see it?
What Taylor said. I mean, I get why you're playing coy with the other character who he talks to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's good to share that he's talking to a demon woman behind a door.
Totally.
That it takes it from a mailman doing his job to this otherworldly place that's super fun, and it makes me much more interested in it. I've never been interested in seeing a movie about a mailman before, and now that I know that it's a mailman talking to a demon, I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
Totally. That's like I should probably just address that, I guess. Like he tries to deliver a package to this horrifying creature. It's just a pair of like red eyes floating in the darkness, and apparently it's just a grandma named Miss Belvedere, but we don't quite see what her face looks like, and it's one of the best voice artists. I was lucky enough to have him on board for this. His name is Dave Fenoy. He's got this beautiful, rich, terrifying, deep, booming voice, and I thought that would have been just the most funny juxtaposition ever. With basically, I tried to think of if such a thing could exist, like what is the opposite of a really plucky mailman who loves his job and he's really cheerful and happy, and for better or for worse, that's what kind of came out.
How did you decide to go with Dave Fenoy? Where did he come from, and why his kind of voice for that character?
Well, my wonderful girlfriend Adriana is a voiceover actor, and she's worked with Dave. He's coached her previously, and I was trying to think of, who could possibly do the voice of this character and what it would even sound like, or who could put their own spin on it. And whenever I thought of him, having heard his voice before, I just started like laughing, like kind of weirdly to myself, just because I just could see that being the strangest, most hilarious like little duo on screen. And I brought it up to Adriana, and she reached out to him, and they were so wonderful and accommodating. And he's someone who, like us, he believes in artists helping other artists. So that was really, really cool of him to do this for us. So
You mentioned that he's a video game voiceover talent most often. Is that correct?
yes. He's done like if anyone's played the pod racing video game for like the Star Wars pod racing game.
One from episode 1?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's the guy that did some of the like the crazy alien people that are like blah 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 blah, and so he used those talents whenever Miss Belvedere speaks in tongues in the short, and that was really something to see too in person. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So where did the idea for the short come from in the first place?
It was like I've always found the idea of Mailman to just be funny. Like I don't know, it's such a strange thing to say, I know, but like I just really wanted to see a film about a mailman that took everything as completely passionately and seriously as he did, and I wanted to see it like, you know, it's just the image of it, and the suburbia, and like this pristine like neighborhood with a man, you know, walking around from house to house enjoying the weather in the neighborhood and everything, and just the idea of that is just really funny to me, and the outfits and the socks, and just like I love it, and I just think that the word mailman is funny. Like just like I have a real fondness for just funny words. So that's always kind of been there, and I was just like, this is a great opportunity. Like when you started talking to me about maybe doing a film club of some sort, like where it's just a conversation, you can shoot it in a day. I'm like, okay, well, I want to make one with a mailman, and like let's see what I can do here. And I stayed up the entire night like writing this thing, like, and it just started in a really weird place, and it just got weirder, and I was just sleep deprived and banging out this like thing that like I don't know, it was I was like, either they're gonna think I'm insane or they're gonna vibe with this, and that's generally kind of I guess what you want to go with.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, the weirder you go or the deeper you go, then the more interesting it is.
Yeah,
really? Right?
yeah.
If it's just like, if it's cookie cutter, then like, cool, seen it. Right?
Mhm.
Totally.
Haven't seen that, but now we made it. Now I've seen it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
exactly.
Okay. Obviously, you stayed up and you wrote something for the intents of what we were doing with the film club. But let's talk about why you hadn't done that prior to us making this an obligation.
Well, one, you know, you never had the opportunity to do like sort of those, oh, that'd be cool one day kind of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah, like how many times have you been sitting around with your friends and be like, you know what would be a really cool idea for a movie? And then you come up with the entire plot and then you forget about it.
exactly.
And that sucks. Like how many awesome movies don't get made that people come up with on a daily basis? It's a
Totally.
travesty.
You gotta have that notepad on standby at all times.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel like you guys all kind of understand like when we're at, you know, the level that we're at in the hashtag indie, you know, like world, you got to pick your projects, you know, like real carefully, and they've got to be the thing, like the thing, the island that you jump to, you know, and you're jumping to the next one after that, and it's like sometimes those smaller projects can get lost if you're just like looking out, you know, on the horizon at, you know, the feature film that you want to
Sure.
do one day, or like the big script that you want to write, or
Sure.
something. So
I like to challenge that a little bit in the space of like, if we put so much pressure on all of these little things, we don't ever make anything, right?
yeah, exactly.
You know, like, and so I think there's something to be said about taking that pressure away. It shouldn't be so difficult to make little things that are exercises to be a better filmmaker.
Yeah, you see so many people like making short films and they're like, I'm gonna make this short film, and or they just wait to make a short film because they're like waiting for the greatest idea ever. I need to make the best short film ever made, and it's gonna be my big break because I'm gonna make my short film and it's gonna.
Yeah, but does anybody actually care?
Yeah, no one cares.
Who cares?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what? It's cool. Like you might get lucky, your short film might blow up online, or it might do well in festivals or whatever. But like, there's always gonna be another one, and I see so many filmmakers, like young filmmakers and indie filmmakers, that they're obviously their goal is to be directing features or TV, and they go make a short film and they think it's going to launch their career, and they spend so much time and so much money on it, and just like they don't realize that there's a point where it's only going to you could work on it forever and make it better, and there's always something you could make better about a film, but sometimes or all the time, every movie, every piece of art, there comes a time where it's time to abandon it and put it out in the world and move on to the next thing, because the most important thing to me about making short films is that you learn from them and you make your next thing better.
Yes.
So nothing's ever perfect, and you can't be so precious with it.
Yeah.
Totally. And I love that about what this is, because it can be so, I don't know, like it's kind of a mind fuck sometimes whenever you're trying to get projects off the ground at our level, you know, and like you have tunnel vision sometimes, and you look up and it's like, oh geez, like I could have done like a short film here, a short film there, but instead, you know, you're kind of waiting until the time is right, and it's never going to be right.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like having a kid, like having making a short film is like having a baby.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, I've had 12, and let me tell you.
Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about like how this actually came to be. I mean, Matt, you and I often reference our storyline when I talk about this film club. Like, how many times have we been on set working on a thing? Like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Like, we should get together and like make something like cool, right? That's not like selling shit. And that weekend would come and go, and then we didn't do it, and then we'd see each other a year later and say the same thing, and then the weekend would come and go, we wouldn't do it, and then we'd see ourselves. It was like this repeating cycle of saying we should and not actually doing it, right? And then fast forward 10 years later, and we just like, yo, enough is enough, man. Like, let's just prioritize it.
Yeah, you get lost in the paying work. Like, it's an easy trap to fall into as a filmmaker, especially in LA. Like, you moved to LA. None of us are from LA. And like you moved, except for David.
Yeah, David and Nicole are both from LA.
David's the OG.
Can't speak in absolutes, man. Can't speak.
OG DJ DG. Sorry.
Okay. Most of us.
It's gonna grow on me.
Many of us.
By
Many
the
of
end
us.
of this podcast, that name's gonna grow on me.
Yeah. Many of us are not from LA. We're transplants.
Right, and a lot of filmmakers are. A lot of people come to LA and they go, I'm going to make movies. And that's what I did. That's what you did. Like, I did the film school thing back east. I got in a car 2 weeks after I graduated and said, I'm going to LA. I'm going to make movies. And yeah, I've worked on movies, and but I've never directed a feature film or directed a TV show, and that's the goal for me. I've gotten paid to direct plenty of commercial work and branded content stuff, and so have you. But I've also made a living editing, and I've made a living as a DP, and that's kind of like, you got to find your way in this town. Like, at least you got to pay your bills somehow, right? Yeah. And we all get lost in that a little bit. Like, oh, I need the next gig that pays me. It is expensive. Life is expensive. LA life is really expensive, and so you got to figure out a way to pay your bills, and you might as well, you know, practice your craft while you're getting paid if you can, even if it's not exactly what you want to be doing. But it's really easy to get lost in that and only do that, and because you can settle for it, right? You're like, I'm a filmmaker and I'm getting paid to be a filmmaker, and you realize you're not making your films or really doing what you want to do. And I think that's what this was all about for us. Was I still have stories I want to tell, and I want to make a feature film. I want to make a lot of feature films. I want to direct TV. I want to do more creative work that isn't. Of course, like you get into a studio system, and like you're not going to have complete creative control over anything. But at least it's not just about like selling a watch or like a phone case, or and that's like what's so much work.
You're gonna love this phone case. It's gonna be so dope. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's such disposable content, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what so much work is that you get stuck in. It's just you put your heart and soul into, and your time and effort, and like it pays your bills, but people see it and it's gone in a week, and no one cares ever again. And so like you said, we got together and we'd been talking about it forever, and it started with your short, The Birthday. Like I'd made a bunch of bad shorts, but they were always like learning exercises for me, and it was like, me and my buddy Nick running around with like an A7S and no lights and bad actors, and like we're gonna make this great thing.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's terrible, but that's how you develop as a filmmaker, right? You're like, you can't just wing it like that.
Well, you gotta learn through failure.
Yeah, exactly.
You really do.
You gotta fail a lot to get better, and I think we both felt like we developed as filmmakers enough that we could like make quality projects at this point in our lives, and so how do we do that, and how do we keep doing that? And there's got to be other people in the world that feel that way, and so I don't know. We definitely had a few drinks one night. We're like, let's just do it, man. Let's do it. Let's just like get together and let's call all our friends and let's start making short films every month. Why not?
It's interesting. It's like, you and I having the conversation, and then we kind of planting seeds with our other friends. Like we planted a seed with Darren. He was like, yeah, I'm in, right? And I had lunch with Taylor. Like, Taylor, would you be into this idea? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm into it. We just have to keep it really close to the chest, because I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Yeah, if you guys know Taylor, the way he speaks, that's like his influence. I don't know.
I'm just gonna talk the rest of the podcast like this, man. I don't know. But let me tell you.
Yeah.
No, like my main thing that I've really loved that you guys, have focused on, and like I think that we all have in common, is the aversion to quote unquote content and making.
Four-letter word.
Yeah, and
With
like
more letters.
I'm always kind of
I don't really
hesitant.
get that joke, but I could like it.
Yeah. I'm just always hesitant to like make an episode of something, that or like a fodder for a brand, or to a channel that needs stuff on it, and it's just like that's not what y'all are about. And that was my kind of like worry going into it. Is like,
how
what
many
are we
terabytes
making?
can the internet hold?
Yes. Well, there's that question too. Who knows? Probably at least 6.
So keep going.
We really got to look that up. I'm curious.
I'm really curious about this. I imagine this giant library of content that one day is going to just, all the bookshelves are going to fall. The internet.
Like
That's all I got.
Bookshelf, the internet.
Yeah, that's all I got. Just imagine it happening. Continue.
all 6 terabytes of the internet. Man.
Yeah. So making stuff that's not content, quote unquote, right? So sick of being called a content creator.
Oh God.
Ugh, God.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's like what we've been hired to do is create content, right? And like I think that creative anxiety that we all felt was the being referenced as that and being hired for that, when we all really came here pursuing this passion of being filmmakers. Like I didn't consider myself a filmmaker anymore when I felt like I danced the dance between like being a producer for content and being like a consultant for businesses and like communication theory and all this stuff that was like, I gotta make like pitch decks for these ideas that are selling things. I'm basically making marketing decks. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's stuff you're like, as a filmmaker, there's only really a couple ways to make a living, right? It's make content / commercial content. Commercials are basically content too, right? There's one here and
There's
there
some pretty
that's not,
special narrative
there
commercials.
are, but there's a lot of throwaway commercials as well that are just as throwaway as other content. And branded content, it can give you a little more of an opportunity to tell a story than your traditional spot. So it's easy to suck filmmakers into that. I can like go tell a story. Like I've done plenty of documentary branded content pieces that I'm really happy with, and they're cool, but like, or is anyone gonna remember them? No. But yeah, like
I'll never forget your snowboarding series with the El Camino.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Is that what that was? The El Camino?
No, it was a
Monte Carlo?
Cadillac. It was a convertible
Chris, the
Cadillac.
car guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like basically, you can make a living creating content or making films, and making films is much harder to make a living doing.
But what do you have to do in order to make films for a living?
You got to make films first.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the tough part. So you show up, and especially as a young filmmaker, I feel like, at least personally, I always felt like, I don't know if my ideas are good enough, or is this the right idea to like pursue, or you're afraid of writing, you're afraid of making
terrified
things.
of writing.
Yeah.
Terrified of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a writer. I'll get good at directing, and someone will hire me to direct someday. That's the biggest crock of shit ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you just got to do it yourself, right?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, can we talk a little bit about like speaking our truth through our writing, right? Like how you talk about, like, Taylor, you're talking about just having this interest in the word mailman, and then the weirdness of like the story of the mailman, and like that's you. Right?
I totally like empathize with Mr. Mailman. I feel like a lot of my life has been that conversation on that porch. So like it's like
please continue.
just kind of going into things like oh boy, okay, cool, and then oh my God. Case like I'll give you one example. I was in Lubbock and I was working just out of college. I got called into jury duty for the first time, and went to the courthouse. It was kind of, I was like, oh wow, this is kind of wow. And I sit down and they're asking everyone questions, and because I was a Boy Scout, I guess I answered all my questions really honestly, and they picked me for the jury, and which is, well, okay, sure, like I'll do my service and everything, all that. I was like, okay, we got parking tickets, we got speeding, and we got what? And no, it was a murder about a sweet old lady that got stabbed to death, and I'm here's my next 2 weeks, and it's like that was just horrifying in so many ways. Like I'm glad I went through it, but like the I don't know. It was very. It was just this pitch black darkness that I just kind of waltzed right into without expecting it, and being like, okay. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess part of that is in Mr. Mailman.
And now Taylor has a debilitating fear of questions.
Yes. I like. What are you trying to ask me? What does this mean?
Wait, what do I have to do here?
Side note: it's 1.2 million terabytes.
Million terabytes for the internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took a long time to find.
At some point,
Well, I found it right away, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt.
I mean, at some point, we're gonna hit that with all this stupid content that people feel like they need to make, right?
Yeah.
Until they just add more hard drives to it.
Yeah, just plug another 100 gigabyte hard drive in, and it's fine.
Jeez.
That's all you
Okay,
gotta do.
so let's talk a little bit about like the technical accomplishments. I do want to talk about, actually, before we go to technical accomplishments, let's talk about working with James. James Hammond was the DP of Mr. Mailman. James Bless him. James could not join us tonight.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's still with us.
Just everyone bless him.
James Alive Hammond.
You had not worked with James prior to this, correct?
Correct.
James was the DP of The Birthday, which was the kind of one of the nucleus ideas of the film club-ish. The Birthday was my first short film that I directed. I was prior to that, we kind of hit on this earlier about like you want to make the short film you make like this big grand thing, like it's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna make this thing, and then I kind of like kicked myself in that thought, and then just started asking my friends if they'd come help me make a short film, and then I was like, well, I don't have anything to write because I'm afraid of writing, so basically democratized the act of writing by getting everybody to submit an item and a short story that came along with that item to the table. So there was 10 of us, and then we gave those items and those short stories to my friend Maurice, who was a writer, like, hey, okay, check it out. Just use these as inspiration and write whatever you want to. If you use this information, great. If you don't, that's also great. I don't care. Here's a place to start. And make it a story that takes place in one location with 2 actors, and let's go. So it happened. James is the DP. In that experience, I got over my fear of directing narrative. I realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Literally in it, I'm like, this is the experience that I came here for, right? I've been on a lot of sets as different roles between PA and second AD and camera operator and all the different things, but I've never been on a narrative film set to direct. And it's really special. Right? When you're like, you've created a world and you're working with characters and you're working with the actors, like, okay, here's where we're going. Check it out. And you're just like in that, man, it's so rad. So fast forward 2 years later, it took 1.5 years to edit that film because we didn't do any pre-production and it was a nightmare to do the post. So I like, how do we replicate this intent, right? How do we make this something that's sustainable and do it often? And then I watched Aaron Sorkin's Masterclass, and he was talking a lot about, I only watched the first chapter of Masterclass. Thank you, Taylor, for that, allowing me to have that Masterclass. And I watched the first chapter and had all these light bulbs just firing, right? And he said 3 things. One was, new filmmakers have big ideas. Well, good for you. All filmmakers have big ideas. You know what you don't have? Big money. So work within your means and just make films. Then he said, 95% of filmmaking is people talking, right? Can you make a conversation between 2 people interesting? If you can do that, you're 95% of the way to making a good film, right? And I realized, like, oh, whoa, coming from skateboarding, coming from music videos, coming from like documentary-ish type stuff, like I never really explored that space of 2 people talking and how to make that interesting. And yet most of the films I love are people talking. So that's kind of what became the backbone of this in the Film Club intent, right? Let's explore that, right? Let's do something that's like, cool, we can create a conversation and make that interesting. Let's just make that the exercise. And we've obviously reached beyond that in some capacities, but there's other things we want to do. Matt with horror films, Taylor with, demons, it's cool. Like I have a talking piece of broccoli, right? So whatever, man. All that being said, now we have context of how James Hammond comes into the situation. So went back to James and, hey man, would you be down to like do another short film project? Projects plural, because we want to do this often. So James said yes to working on Taylor's first script. What I would like to know is like, what was it like working with a DP that you never really worked with before? And
well, it was after that first meeting where we decided we were going to do mine. I was like really freaked out because it was just the pressure was on, which is a good thing. But like, I don't know. I remember kind of spinning my wheels a bit, and you kind of helped push the ball along, kind of make sure things are still going. And then James reached out to me and told me he'd like to DP it. And it was like the greatest feeling in the world to have, someone like that, like reach out and be
proactiveness.
Like, yeah.
Proactiveness. It's key, right?
It was so cool of him to, yeah. And that made me feel, like I'm not being a burden on, asking a DP, like, which I could see you trying to like fight against that, but like, and I know it's not the correct thing to think, but it's just that was my default at the time, being so nervous. I was just like, if I just ask anyone to help me with this, I'm just I don't know, because I didn't know anyone, but I was so thankful that he did that, and working with him, getting I showed him my shot lists and stuff, and he had a lot of really cool ideas, and his amazing camera that he donated to the production, which was just everything. It was so awesome. And then he allowed us to use his house to film it. And
use what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this kind of brings up something that I think is cool about what we're doing, is that a lot of people think, oh, I got to go to make a short film, I got to spend all this money, I got to rent all this equipment, I got to hire all these people, and basically what we're doing is we're circumventing all of that because we're all working professional filmmakers in some capacity, and I have a camera and James has a camera and Chris has a camera, and we got lights between all of us, and there's now we have sound people involved, and some really good gaffers involved, and so it's like it's a collective effort, and we all share equipment and we share each other's time and effort. Like, for instance, I'm a director by trade, but I did sound on Taylor's film, and I was happy to do sound on Taylor's film. I had fun running around with the boom mic all day and pretending like I knew what I did. I mean, I knew what I did well enough. It's fine. But that's like what this is all about, is wearing different hats and losing the ego and helping each other get the projects made, and because it'll come back around to you when it's your turn to get your project done.
Paying it forward.
Yeah, and I think that's like something a lot of young filmmakers lose sight of is you're not an island, and filmmaking is a collaborative effort, and it's one of the most collaborative things I've ever done in my life. And people think, I'm the director, I can do it by myself. You can't. There's not a chance you can make a good film by yourself. So it's great to like rely on each other, and if we didn't rely on each other, none of this would happen.
Yeah. The amount of weight that has been lifted, and I can only speak for myself. I'm sure that you guys agree with me. That's assumption. The weight that's been lifted off of my shoulders, knowing that this exists to enable, I can't put words to how grateful I am for it. Like, with the birthday, it was like, I felt like, even though everybody was involved with the production, like going into post, it was all on me, and like I felt so much weight. The gravity of it was, and I didn't even want to finish it. I was like, no, it's too much. Like, let it go, right? And with this, it's like, okay, well, we're doing it every month. It's like, hey, Matt, where's the film, right? And like, are you asking me, like, where's your film, right? We all kind of like, we have an obligation to each other to just like show up, do the work, get it finished. It's like our film. It's not my film.
Something I wanted to add is that, like, now with this club, the film ideas that I have tucked away in notebooks feel possible. I'm able to sort of like, if they're too big, I can like whittle them down to something doable. If they're small, I'm like, oh, I can pitch this. And so being involved with this group for the past year and seeing what can be accomplished as a collective, all of those things feel tangible, and like we're able to achieve them. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I know I'll have access to a camera, I know I'll have access to lighting. Now I can focus on like, if I can get a location, or if I can get that actor. I can put focus on those things, and letting all like the superficial things, where we call them superficial because we're like, oh, what kind of camera are you running? I know that I'll have access to every great camera I can imagine because we have access to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like you can't do it all on your own. If you do it all on your own, you get one thing done every 5 years.
Yeah.
That's,
Right?
Like, how many people are, here in town, like, that are separated, but they each have a piece of, the puzzle that they could, join forces and combine.
Voltron, that shit.
Yeah.
So I want to bring Nicole into this storyline, because Nicole is the one person at this table who's been a part of the collective since Jump Street, who wasn't traditionally coming from being a filmmaker, right? And I want your perspective on like what it's like to a jump into this collective, participate. You are definitely now a filmmaker. You've participated in 12 short films plus the birthday. But I also want to get your perspective on jumping into what started off as 9 people, 8 of which were men.
Where to begin?
So let's start with like just like the non-filmmaker conversation. What's your big takeaway from this year plus of experience doing this? What are you stoked on?
I enjoy doing the things that most of the quote-unquote filmmakers not necessarily don't want to do, but don't really think about. I enjoy making food. I like doing crafty. I like, preparing the breakfast burritos that everyone's like oozing over, or I like
Those are good breakfast burritos, man.
organizing a room so that it makes sense for set, or I like, helping with gaff, even though I know nothing of, what I'm doing, but I can lift things that are really heavy. I like doing set design. I like doing hair and makeup. I like doing all the things that most of these guys don't think about.
But when you say think about, what do you mean? 'Cause
I can volunteer for any one of those things, and all of you guys would be like, yeah.
The details.
It's the details. And it's the details that keep it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's the details that get you guys fed. It's the details that make a room come alive. It's the details that makes the mailman look Disney. It's the details that, it's not that you guys don't think about it. It's just that, it's a detail.
We don't think about it.
Yeah, you guys are so focused, which I totally understand, on directing and DPing and doing all the main things that it just sort of gets lost in the wayside. And I like focusing on all of that stuff.
But you don't take on all of those tasks every time. You take on one of those tasks and do it really well.
I take on a few tasks. The more shorts that we've done, I wear more hats on each set.
I feel like that's also just
I come in saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do
something small,
and then I'm helping out on set, and I'm doing set decorations or building something or dressing something, and then I'm helping with makeup because I have my makeup kit, or hair looks off, so I'm helping with that, or food needs to be set up, so I'm helping with crafty. I'm just I enjoy being all over the place.
You guys, Nicole is an enabler.
I am an enabler in the best sense of the word.
Film club mom.
Film club mom.
Yes.
Okay, and then so let's talk a little bit about. Thank you, by the way. You were the only girl in the film club for definitely the first 3 months, the first 3 productions. But let's talk about that experience.
I hated it after a while. I almost quit. I think I only told a few people. I told Jana, Matt's wife. I was venting to her a little bit. But yeah, I was pissed and angry and sad and disappointed. I was all the things. It's so hard, not being in the industry, and I never felt it before, but being a woman, I've never had this feeling in anything I've ever done. Being a woman and feeling inadequate in just being a woman, but made to feel that way from the group unknowingly. I know no intent was there, and I know there was no malice, there was no, whatever, but I just felt like I was being, if I would try to interject or say something, I was being cut down. Or if, God, everything's changed so much since then that I honestly can't really, I can think of a few things, but I can't think of all the things where why I was so, I was worked up, and I was pissed, and I was over it. And then at one point I was just like, you know what? No, they need a girl in the group, and they need me in the group, because I'm an outspoken person. Outspoken? And
because you'll say it. You're going to say the thing that needs to be said.
I'll say it, but I'm not going to be an asshole about it. But, I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to say the stuff, and you're going to listen to me. You're going to fucking listen. And you may not do it. You may not,
We need that energy.
Yeah, but it may not.
Absolutely.
But it may not come to fruition, whatever I'm saying. It may not be the idea that's picked. But you're going to fucking hear me out, and you're going to respect what I'm saying, just as a person, because I feel like I have a decent head on my shoulders, and I'm not an idiot. And I feel like an outside opinion for you guys in the film industry is a good opinion to have in the group. It's just a different opinion, and it's something you guys don't hear very often. And also, I feel like in your industry, you don't have to deal with a lot of women. And so learning how to talk to a woman, in a way that's appropriate, and listen to the woman as not a woman, but as a colleague and as another person. Just just listening.
I mean, that's a huge thing that I think many of us have to work on in general. And it's not even just like the male-female dynamic. It's just the person-to-person dynamic. It's like, are we actually listening to each other, or are we just trying to right, get it all out and like say the things, right? And then because filmmaking is so collaborative, within this group specifically, I've watched the dynamic slowly get. It's been shifting, and it gets better every time we have a workshop, and every set gets better because we stare the problems in their face and we say, hey, that was a problem. Let's get better at that together. We're actively doing it, right? You like you said,
yeah, it's completely. I feel completely different, and I've felt completely different for a while now from how I felt at that moment where I felt like my lowest in the group. Not my lowest in life. I was fine in life. But like in the group, I was just fucking not having it. It was not okay. And even a month after that, when I decided like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a positive, and it's going to be a growing experience for myself, and I feel like for everyone else, they won't know it, but it will be a growing experience, a learning experience. And I feel completely different. I feel completely different about even the people that I felt were directing most of the, I wouldn't even call it animosity or anything like that, but where I was feeling the most struggle with, I guess. I feel completely different with those people, and like I've talked to them, and it's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you feel that way now, and also this is just kind of like speaks to why it's so important to make sure that there's women involved. So like, and you're not, there's not one, because like dudes are stupid. like we really, like guys are dumb, and especially in herds, and like the energy needs to be balanced out, and like for so many reasons, but like, making sure someone feels heard and, and is
in that too, like when I was going through my whole, I'm going to heal the group as a woman, martyring myself, there were people in the group that I realized that weren't being heard and that were frustrated and that felt the same way I felt, maybe not on a regular basis, or it didn't, but I don't know, it affected them, and I saw that, and they spoke to me about it, and I feel like maybe they spoke to me about it because they kind of felt that common ground. Like they knew that I would understand. And I felt like, well, nobody else is going to be the voice for these people, and these people don't feel strong enough to be the voice themselves. So I'm going to be their voice. I'm going to speak up for them, and I'm going to interject, and I'm going to say the things that like people don't necessarily want to bring up, or bring the things up to Chris like, hey, this is going on, or so-and-so, or, whoever, just address issues a little bit more so that people don't feel so muted,
ostracized,
or stepped on, or ostracized, or whatever it is that they don't feel comfortable in the group. Like everyone should feel as comfortable as everyone else in the group, and it should, obviously we're all going to slip up, and I've slipped up, and everyone, but we can try to make it, and we can put in the effort to make it the most healthy it can be. And I feel like at this point, we're pretty damn good at it. Like all of us collectively.
Yeah, and like, also like I'm glad that you're bringing this up too, just because like, I assume it's, you have a lot of people listening to us talk about how, we came together and like we've made 12 short films together, one a month, and like it's, rally the troops, and it's inspiring. The reality of that is always like it's bringing a bunch of people that don't know each other, like, necessarily together to do this incredibly stressful year-long sort of like marathon, it's not going to be like fun and roses and singing songs around
Cotton candy
campfire.
and purple dinosaurs.
Yeah, like the whole time. Like you're going to have a lot of like clashes of personality. You're going to have an extreme imbalance of, male versus female at first, because like guys are friends with guys, and like that's kind of how the whole group kind of started. But I think it's important to address that. Like, like this has been really hard in a lot of ways,
But I mean, in that difficulty, I mean, how many times have you guys been on a set where it was really toxic?
Not
Like
really,
one
I
person
mean,
toxic? Or?
Okay, I'll just tell. I mean, I
Say
remember.
moderately
I had
toxic.
one of my own sets as a director, and that was a mismanagement by the production company. That it was one of those things where maybe even 2 days before we were going to shoot, I almost walked out on the production, but that mismanagement like put me off from the production company. And the toxicity, like the thing was that luckily I brought in the production home. Like what I'm supposed to do, my job as a director, I brought it home because that's what I'm supposed to do. But it taught me a lot about how, regardless of how toxic it is, if the director falters, then the whole thing collapses. But I have been on toxic sets before, and that was like one that I was the person at the helm, because if it would have fallen, it would have fallen on me, obviously. But it was a situation where they tried to split a project in two. It was 2 music videos they wanted to shoot in the same day with 2 directors splitting the camera.
Wow.
They were trying to cut.
That's supposed to work.
Wow.
Yeah. And Darren was my DP for that, and he could tell even more about it. But like, it was one of those things where like they wanted me to shoot my stuff in the first half of the day, and then the other director's stuff in the second half of the day.
Wow.
And
Milking that cow, huh?
Yeah, and it was that mismanagement by production because they wanted to cut corners. And it was one of those things where like I almost walked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awful.
Well, I mean, what about the way people talk to each other on set, right? I mean, like I've been on sets where you see people just snapping at each other.
Yeah, and that's when like either the AD loses control, or I've noticed that some sets can get toxic if like the top 2 people, which are the producer, or which are the director and the assistant director, just completely just falter. That falter just trickles down, and luckily I held my end of the ship, and it from faltering, because it could have, and but at the end of it, the second production didn't go well.
Right.
It was because after I was done with mine, I walked out. I was like, I'm done.
See ya.
But I don't know how that went, and the director was a little younger than me and a little bit more inexperienced, but I don't know how that went. You know what I mean?
Half day, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also what I feel like in general, this group tries to, because of we're very protective of the people that come into it. We try to foster environments on sets that are, don't be a dick,
Right. Treat others how you would like to be treated.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a priority for like the group as a whole.
Hey man, that's a Texas thing too, man.
That's a Texas thing. Let me tell you what.
Hey, man.
And the thing won't survive.
Hey, treat others like you won't be treated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, there's something to be said about like building your film family, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard other filmmakers talk about this, and it's so true. It's like, you're gonna, in the real world of filmmaking for a living, where there's money involved, you are gonna go work with lots of people that you don't know very well, but you're gonna want to keep the core people around you friends and
family, man.
Build those relationships and build each other up. Like, that's why you see a lot of directors working with the same actors over and over again, the same producers, or like a director will produce another director's movie because they're friends, and there's reasons for that. It's like if you can keep the core creative team close to you and basically work with those people that you really like and just keep working with them and help each other succeed, your time on set, your time in post-production, your time in pre-production will all be so much more enjoyable, and therefore will be more productive, and also you'll make a better film.
Yeah.
we also like can't, because everyone involved has to come back the next month, you know, for at least for the meeting, you know, like the group can't function if every set is a nuclear explosion of horribleness, because those things can kind of like, sometimes if you're on like a one-off production, you know, like that music video you were talking about, like it's easy to be like, I'm never working with them again. But like with this, we're all kind of like, we're in it for a much longer game than that, you know. So it's really important that we, you know, that we have continued to just really try for that environment on sets.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about the fact that where it started with 9 of us in a basement, and now it's over 30 people.
36.
Yeah.
How many of the original are still?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the original are still around. I've heard, some of us have gone off and like took on TV shows, and we're busy, but there's the conversations are present. Like, dude, I can't wait to get back. Like, I want to get back and like keep jamming. Like, what's up? What's going on? I feel like I'm missing out. FOMO, right? Like, Nicole and I can't say no to participating on the projects because I literally don't want to miss out. I just enjoy
Fucking
it.
enabler over here. Can't say no.
I just enjoy it. So it's a thing I look forward to every month. Like, I want to be on set. I want to be on set with my friends. Like,
yeah, we get the worst FOMO.
It's like I really, cause, like I've kind of become either default producer or first AD in some capacity if I'm not directing, and like I'm okay with that to some regards. But I'm like, you guys have seen me. I'm like, dude, please just give me like a mellow role. Like, let me do sound, or like let me just like. What, like DIT,
yeah.
right? Behind the scenes,
I would
something,
freak
man.
out doing sound. That's the one thing that I'm
That's
honestly
scary to
like,
me too.
Yeah. Props to Matt
it's so
for
much
doing
is on
sound
it.
on my film, because like I'd be so scared out of my mind doing like,
Everything's
guys,
fun.
that whole I forgot to hit the record button on the sound. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Because
just
it's
you gotta. It's just
terrifying.
pressing the record button, man. I mean, God gave us toes so we could press multiple record buttons, right?
That's geez.
Yeah, and most producers these days expect you to be the DP, the director, the sound guy, the editor, and the PA. So.
Yeah, press them all with
That's
all of the digits that you have on your body.
There's too many buttons. Like, the buttons.
I'm out. There's too many
Yeah.
buttons.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about like. I would like to refer to this based on a conversation that I had in Oregon with a new friend of mine. As a bit of a participatory structure, right? Like what you put in, you get out of it, right? And I think a lot of people would go into that thinking, yeah, but it's my film. And come in with this fear that because we're all putting in that they're not going to have their film. Mm-hmm. Like, where do you guys sit in that now that we've been doing this? Like,
Can I say something?
You can always
first?
say something, yeah.
But not being in the film industry, it's funny. I feel like when you guys all start out, talking about your film and making yours, and it's mine, and it's like, which I get it because you're holding it close to you and you're protective over it, but it's so like me. And then once you guys... Yeah, totally. But then once you guys actually let go, now you're in a film club and the shit's getting done and it's a we. And we is all you guys say.
Yeah, we is so much more fun than I.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also something that like the language of the film industry has ingrained into everybody, even if they don't know it. Like, you see the credits at the front of the movie, a Steven Spielberg film, or a Chris Columbus film, or whatever, and it's
what an auteur.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Like, yeah, that idea of the auteur. I don't know.
He still wants it his way.
Oh man, I don't know. I still think that the idea of the auteur is like kind of bullshit.
It's antiquated. It's antiquated.
There's a lot of guys that they have a vision and they execute it, but none of them do it by themselves.
Yeah.
Like Tarantino talks about, he doesn't even look at a fucking monitor when he's making the movies. He says, I trust my DP. I'm going to pay attention to the actor's performance. He doesn't look at a monitor. Okay, so like...
He also does a lot of weird shit.
Yeah, that's true, too.
On set.
But like...
Sorry, Tarantino, if you're listening.
We love you.
I'm not
Thank you for the inspiration, Tarantino. I really
sorry.
appreciate it.
But yeah, as much as it's a Quentin Tarantino film, it's also his DP's film and his editor's film and all that. And so...
but someone's milking that name that's attached to it they're going to make money off of. Right?
But that's business.
That's the business side of it.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's
right.
That's
business.
fine.
Tarantino sells movies.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that it's like something that you're ingrained to think like this is mine, and I definitely think that we've all found through doing this that it's not just mine. Even if you're the writer director, and you do put more of your own equity into it than anyone else on the crew for that particular month, you still couldn't have done it without everybody else. And then by having this social contract we've created with each other and going and doing the other jobs in other people's films, you realize that they're all our films. Yeah, like you have a little more equity some months, but there's still a shared ownership of all of these.
Similarly, I'm amped to see a film released on AssortedKinds.com that says written and directed by Taylor Schaffner, written and directed by Matt Davino, because I care about you guys and I want you to be successful and I want you to have your projects out.
That's
in the
your
world.
we mentality. Now,
it's awesome. It's like I know that I had a piece in enabling that to exist, right? And then in 2 years' time, we're all going to have multiple versions of that, multiple credits that say that, and we're not going to have that creative anxiety monster that sits in our chest saying, I really got to do this thing, man. It's driving me nuts. We're going to be past it. And then we get to high five on the other side of it, and it's going to be fucking awesome. I already feel so much better. It's already super cool. So
yeah, now it's gone from like, oh, when am I going to make my film? When am I going to make my film? To like, I can't wait to make my next film.
Yeah.
It's not a, God, is this going to happen? It's a, I know it's going to happen, and I know we're going to do it.
And
Let's go.
I can't wait to see the next film you make.
Yeah, totally. Taylor, I think it's time for you to make another film.
I think so too. Let's do this.
I'm ready to. I'm writing it right now.
Yeah.
It's a very.
Mr. Mailman 2.
I've considered it. No joke.
We're gonna build anthologies in this film club. It's gonna be awesome.
We're gonna have our own cinematic universe.
I've considered making Mr. Mailman's.
That's funny.
And it would be like another mailman guy that he kind of comes into like a competition.
Mr.
Or
Mail
something
People.
with.
And then they fall in love at the end.
Yeah.
Or that could work too.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
like I kind of thought it'd be funny if he there's a UPS guy across the street.
Ooh.
He's going faster than him or something.
Better bring those little tiny shorts.
Mr. Mailman unplugs the internet.
Ooh, I like that.
Getting rid of the emails.
No, that's kind of a question I have. Is there plans for expanding Mr. Mailman?
I've like, this all sounds really cool. I would be so open to it. Like, the one thing that's holding me back is just how horrible and like long the effects process took on this one. So like, if I did another one, it would have to be just entirely like real people, I think. Unless I found a way to make it, practical and not spend 6 months dialing in effects over and over and over and over again.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about that process and what exactly you did and why you did it the way you did it.
So Derek, my roommate, he so many people had such important volunteer positions, which is theme of the club and everything, but good Lord, I asked a lot of Derek, and he really pulled through for me. But I had him put on red contacts, and
So
his eyes were bleeding.
He played Nancy, the monster demon lady.
Right. And
Fuck you, Nancy!
It's the best line in the whole movie.
that's also him telling
On the
himself
bicycle. On
to
the
fuck
bicycle,
off. He's a great comedic actor, and his eyes are really expressive, and so I convinced him to be the eyes, and I literally just wanted, because I had not really like seen a lot of this kind of like effect done in the way that I wanted to do it, but it was just a pair of red eyes like floating in the darkness that look as photographically like realistic as possible. And so Derek put on red contacts and we painted his eyes, like we did the Batman thing by painting his eyes like black, like all around.
Michael Keaton or Christian Bale?
Both. They both did that.
Copy.
So, Batman lore. Oh, dang it, Chris. I'm off now.
You painted his eyes. We did the thing.
No, but...
Sorry, dad jokes. I have a problem with it.
It's fine. So yeah, like we filmed the entire conversation with Derek acting out, everything. We filmed him, in camera because that was the best way that I knew how to like get the effect at the time. I would have done it differently, like knowing what I know now. But we did it there on set, so we get the lighting the way that it would be. Then in post, I edited it the way that I wanted to with the eye movements the way that I liked. And I isolated and tracked his eyes and, cut holes out of like a black mat of sorts and attached that to his face. And that's what, his eyes kind of followed it around.
So you rotoscoped his eyes out for the entire film.
Rotoscope, no. There was some elements that had to be rotoscoped for sure, but like mainly it was like the same two masks for his both eyes that I would, use across every single shot. And the one thing that had to be done individually for each shot was tracking, and so and each shot would be tracked. He'd move differently in it. And then I would puppet some things and move them around and increase the size of his eyes. And just from I wasn't thinking clearly enough in like preparing, for the shots, which is now something I'm going to be, I know now it's another learning experience, but like, I should have put his hands on a green screen. And that's what I had to rotoscope was like his hand coming out of the darkness, And so that was a painful, long process to do. But like otherwise, I had like a rhythm going of I would just run down the 60 whatever, eyeball shots. And then the other side of it were also effects shots that had to be tracked because I had to replace the sky. So almost every single shot was a VFX shot, which just took a long time.
Was that because you wanted it to look like Pleasantville?
Yeah.
Like Super Happy Land?
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, weren't we chasing the sun? Wasn't it changing?
It was. Like that kind of made the color grade process a little bit tricky on the end.
I was pretty impressed by that when I saw the final color grade.
Yeah.
Like it matches pretty well all the way, and
Awesome.
and I know like we
was fucking.
we have learned a lot on these, and this is our first one, and we got in a little bit of a bind at the end of the day, and didn't have much time to get like 10 shots.
James was
that we
yelling
needed.
a little bit.
Gentlemen, the sun is going down, and we're shooting a daytime short, so get the move on.
Yeah, the DP had to pull out a bunch of lights to fake sunlight at the end of the day, and yeah.
At the very end, it was like the most, like it like it's easy to look back and like, yeah, it was fun, but like, my gosh,
Not for that 30 minutes.
that was a stressful one of my favorite like kind of there's one take where we just roll the camera, fucking roll it, and like, oh wait, the newspaper's wrong, and then someone runs out to go get it, and like, oh wait, the gnome is wrong, and someone else runs out to go get it, like, oh, there's a piece of equipment.
James is like, God damn it, God damn it.
And it's like literally like
I love you, though. I love you.
it's like a Charlie Chaplin short, basically, where just random people running in and out for a good
Grabbing
30
stuff.
seconds, like, and we think it's fine, and then another person would run in and get, and like, but it was.
This is all while the camera's rolling.
Yeah, so it's all
please
captured.
post this.
Yeah,
Please post this.
No, yeah, it was a big learning process for sure in a lot of different ways, but it also kind of became what I kind of love a lot, which is don't worry about the vanity like making everything like this is a film set and this is like I love the
Coming in with like knee-high boots and
Yeah.
a cap.
and a
Yeah,
pencil
no scarf
mustache
involved
and-
on this director.
Yeah, I love the slapdash kind of scrappy vibe, and I think that it kind of comes across sometimes whenever you're making shorts that if it feels so slick and perfect and like you're just like, well, they must have had a lot of money from somewhere. You're like, wow, like I don't know, but like
Nope, just sold pineapples on the
I
street
know.
corner for a week.
but like that's also me, coming from being dumb about making movies in Texas and stuff from before, where I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, but that's all of us at some point. Like,
Yeah.
we're all dumb about making movies at some point, and you learn by doing, right?
Still
And-
pretty
Yeah.
dumb about making movies.
Yeah, it's like pretty sure we all did film school, right? And,
Yeah, sure. Community college.
No, we
was
didn't all
great.
do it, guys. We didn't
Sorry.
all do it.
One of the great. Yeah. Anyways.
I don't know. I guess like my point is that you're never done learning. Like
Yeah.
I've been doing this professionally for 11 or 12 years at this point, and Chris, you have too, and
Same.
yeah,
Same,
David,
I'm actually
if I don't learn something every single day I'm working, there's something wrong.
Something wrong.
I'm glad you brought up film school because I did want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Like,
Talk about it.
I just want to say for if there's anyone out there that's considering film school, like my personal opinion, you guys can feel free to disagree with me. You don't need it. Don't go. Don't do it. Because the thing is, I was denied from every single film school.
Yeah,
I've
let's
been
talk about this.
That literally could be its own episode.
Ooh,
by
let's
the
talk
way.
about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
check it out. Check it out. I almost went back to Art Center specifically because I feel like I didn't have a filmmaking community that I was a part of.
Los Angeles Art Center?
Yes. Yeah. I thought it before. This was before you and I started dating.
Obviously.
And my friend Jorge was going to Art Center. He was just touting like, man, it's so cool. There's all this cool stuff at Art Center. And I went there. Whoa, what a beautiful campus. I could go back here because I feel like I was missing out on a network. I didn't have a network. And I think a lot about film school and how it is a network. That you have an opportunity to build a network within it. However, it still is missing the soul of filmmaking.
Well, I think so here's the thing. I went to film school from 2004 to 07. So that was like right at the cusp where people were shooting their finals either on Sony HD or
Yeah.
16 millimeter.
Yeah.
So I came in at like a very transitional time. And so there wasn't that much. I mean, there was that sort of hype about gear, but only if you were like either an older student or if you had a lot of money. If you were on the lower end, it was like, oh, we have like an XL1 or an XL2. Like, that was cool. I feel, but a lot of us still had to learn on a Bolex or like an Ari.
Right.
And so I feel like now it might be different because there's such a accessibility to the kind of quality in terms of just film, like cameras or whatever.
Sure.
So I can't really attest to how it is now. I've been thinking about this too, about like, it provides a network for you, and I can attest to it. Like, I've known Darren since freshman year of film school.
Did you go to Brooks with Darren?
Yeah, we both went to
Oh,
Brooks. We
I don't think I knew that.
freshman year. Yeah, we've been working since we were in school, so I can attest to like meeting somebody there that kind of works with you throughout your career. But that's been a relationship I've had to maintain.
Right.
The one thing that film school did teach me, and at least with Brooks, I could only speak for Brooks, is that like it put a camera in my hand my first year there. So I got to pretty much play around with like the gear that I had access to. Like I said, I don't know how it is now, but I feel like what remains constant with art students and just kind of being there is just that thinking that this thing is going to be the best thing, this little project I'm going to do. And that's where the ego comes in. There is still a lot of ego. I feel like one thing that if somebody does go to film school is to take advantage of everything that's accessible.
Right.
And I think a lot of people still treat it, especially if you go right out of high school, some people treat it like school and they slack off. They don't do the extra work outside of school. to sort of build up their.
Well, know why you're there.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
No,
know why
you
you're there,
have to
exactly.
know why
Yeah.
you're there. When I was in college, I didn't know why I was in college.
Yeah.
I like would ditch class and go skateboard and try to like
Yeah.
go to contests and like whatever. Like I didn't know why I was in college.
Yeah.
And then I got kicked out because I got such crappy grades.
Yeah.
But
And-
sorry.
And then I went to a community college for 2 years that had a film program because I was making
Yeah.
skate videos. I was like, you know what? I can make skate videos. I see people making a living out of making skate videos. 401 Video Magazine was still relevant at the time, right?
I'm sure
shit
it's the same now with YouTube. I feel like
Yeah,
like people are like, oh, people are making money off of YouTube. I'll just be a vlogger.
sure.
So
And- And the accessibility to gear now,
Yeah.
it's dude,
And
you
distribution.
like you don't have to buy a Sony A7S. You could rent it for $40 on ShareGrid,
Yeah.
So
right? Like how much does it take to make 40 bucks? To rent?
Here's my deal on it. If you can afford to go and you're going to go right out of high school, I think it's worth going just for the life experience.
Yeah.
It's like college to me is it's like a good transitional safe bubble for you to go into, like learn how to be an adult while there's still like some sort of supervision so you don't kill yourself. and if you can like play with some cameras and make some films while you're there, great.
Sure.
Right, like that's where film school is good, and then also the network that you make while you're there. Because I still work with people.
Sure.
I know you because of people that I went to film school with.
Yeah. Thanks, Dobie.
Yeah, thanks, Dobie. But do you need film school to be a filmmaker? Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Fuck no. Like, go do this. Go do what we're doing with your friends. This is way better than any film school in the world. In that case.
Yeah.
That's what I was wanting to like kind of bring up was like we are the like I want to say that we are the proof of like why this is no longer necessary. Like everyone has a camera that can shoot movie quality things in their pocket now, and like I mean I want to do that in the club at some point. Like I want to have us shoot an iPhone film.
And Soderbergh just shot his last feature on an iPhone.
Sure.
Sure. And like
It was great.
it's just you have everything that you need to make a film around you. You just got to figure out like what that is. And
go experiment.
Yeah.
Go experiment with your friends. That's what this is. It's a big experiment.
Yeah. Watch movies, read books about story.
Listen to podcasts about movies and filmmaking.
The thing that like getting to denied from film school, like it taught me, and it was really important, was that no one's going to hand you anything. And like I don't know, I feel like that's such an important thing. Like if you want to do like anything for yourself or your career, round up your friends and be proactive and go and do it on your own.
Trust the process.
What I have another note about film school, why it's important.
Are you trying to sell us the other way now?
No, not at all. It was something I just remembered. But what you said is really good. This is just something else. But one of the things I feel film school there is a gain in is the ability to learn how to take criticism.
Ooh.
And that's one of the things.
Still struggle with that one.
Yeah, if there's one thing that, at least with Brooks, they, even from the get-go before going, they were the way they sold us the school was like, if it sucks, your teacher is going to tell you it sucks.
Ooh.
And so like a lot of people that were starting up, they were like, okay, I want to be told that my project isn't good because it lets me be better. And if you don't go to film school, especially if a film school isn't like that, I can't talk about other film schools because I don't know them, but I feel like learning how to take criticism is a huge thing that filmmakers need to know about, especially when they're younger, because with YouTube and Vimeo and the immense amount of comment sections, you're gonna get a distorted view of like you're gonna rely on those comment sections too much, and it's not gonna define the quality of your film. I feel like with a film school, you get people who are educated in this and know what they're talking about, especially professors, and it tells you exactly what is wrong with your film and what you would need to improve on it. And I feel like learning how to take that criticism every week is very important for a filmmaker. I'm not trying to sell film school, but I feel like that's one benefit.
I also feel like that breeds a bunch of critics, though. It breeds a bunch of people that think that they know everything about, let's say they're into the horror genre, and like, oh, I'm going to break down this movie and I know why it's, whatever. And
Well,
it creates this big head.
No, it can. It can.
Yeah, it can, 100%.
It can, but at the same time, the film school I went to was very
Was what?
theory focused.
which-
I went to Keene State. It's a little film school back east in New Hampshire that is run by a few ex-USC professors. Basically, moved back to New Hampshire and started this film school with like a copy of USC's film program, and so it's like the USC film program on a major budget.
Shout to Keene State.
Yeah, way. They actually have a really nice production facility that they built a year after I left, which I was like bummed about.
Yeah.
We had like
Yeah.
I got to play
got
with.
what
State.
You got what you needed. You're good,
Yeah.
man. We're making movies.
Anyway, but they were very theory focused,
Mm.
and that's the best thing I got out of film school. It wasn't anything technical. I learned more technical skills in my first month working in LA than I ever did in the entire time I was in film school. But theory-wise, I wouldn't understand the structure of films or why they work, or like we studied feminist film and just that film history is so important to study. And like I took a class in Australia. I did take a class on Star Wars and philosophy. That was really cool.
It was all about Star Wars and philosophy?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
philosophy in Star Wars.
What?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so you should go to film school.
Hell yeah.
Um,
That's tight.
Sounds
You
horrible.
can probably find that on YouTube. It's fine.
yeah, but you know what? There's goods and there's bads.
Okay, so that's tight. Some people would say that making short films is a waste of your time. Can we talk about why it isn't real quick? Or maybe you guys think it is. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts real quick on making short films?
Absolutely not a waste of time.
No
like
way.
well, I mean, it depends on like what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do bigger things, you gotta learn to,
But you
crawl
gotta
before you
start-
can walk.
You have to
Yeah.
start somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to develop yourself as a filmmaker somehow, right? And the only way to do that is to make short films. Or, I mean, I guess you could just go make a feature film.
You could,
That's
yeah.
how
right?
a really bad feature happens usually.
Sure.
I've seen that. I've worked on some really bad features where people were like, I have a great idea and I'm going to go make a movie. And you go, wow, this is terrible. I'm glad they're paying me, though.
And that can be heartbreaking,
Yeah.
like if you invest so much into a huge project like that without being ready for it, And this is, I'm so thankful that Chris and everyone here has created a space with which you can, learn to kind of stretch your wings a bit and kind of figure out like the craft of having two people talk to each other on screen,
You gotta figure out how to weave a beginning, a middle, and an end together, right? You gotta figure out how to make a character arc and a scene, right? A short film can be a scene with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you can get good at that process, then you can make a feature film with a bunch of scenes that have beginning, middles, and
That's
ends.
all a feature film is. It's a bunch of short films back to back to back to back.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Yeah.
So make some scenes and then make a feature film.
Yeah.
So I think there's something special about the exercise of getting good at making the short films and also getting good at working with each other,
Yep.
which is cool.
Yeah.
And if you pay attention to most successful filmmakers and actors, they're all still making short films every year.
Yeah.
They still do it because they like being on set. Every single time you're on set, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Blessings.
So Taylor, how do you feel now that you've got Mr. Mailman out in the world? Good, bad, indifferent?
Surreal. Like
Surreal.
it's been a thing that's been kind of sitting at the back of my head for the past year, just waiting to be let out of the gate, and I found I don't know, I was too fed up with the whole film festival thing in the past, and I swore off of that for the most part for this film, and so it was just kind of sitting there, until we were ready for a large part of last year. But like, it's such a weight off of my shoulders. Like I feel like I've been trying to go through molasses, I guess, anytime I try to start something new, because it's like the thing isn't released. I've still got, it's just sitting on my computer, and it's not the only one, and like that's piling those projects up that you don't finish can be really mentally taxing over a long period. Like it really can wear you down, you know? So like if there's anything that I've learned or I'd want to like impart, it's just like finish your shit, you know? Like it's not done until you finish it. You know, you can go and film it, but like get
it's
it done.
not the end of the world if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
If it's not,
finish it.
I mean, the Mailman, Mr. Mailman is fucking perfect.
It's good.
But like,
I really
if
enjoyed it.
you
It's a
guys
great film.
do something and it's not perfect, we understand.
You know what? But you should still put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, just get it out. Just release it into the wild.
But post-production is a thing, right? I mean, production is one beast and post-production is another beast. And
Talk about that on another podcast.
I know, we'll talk about that again soon. We are now accepting grants for post-production. So
if your name is Grant,
Call us.
yeah, looking for multiple grants.
1-800 Assorted Kinds. I don't think that numbers work out.
All right. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to have this chat. Very excited to have our first one out into the world. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, David Gallardo, for engineering this thing and being part of the mix.
OG DJ.
OG DJ DGs.
Sponsored by Sake.
Sponsored by the sake company that costs $6.
The giant bottle.
That's it for the first Assorted Kinds Filmmakers podcast. Be sure to like us, subscribe to us on YouTube, share us, tap into the Matrix, whatever you kids are doing these days, and check back in next month when we released film number 2, Matt Davino's Last One Screaming, starring Camilla Greenberg and Derek Alvarado and a couple other that I forget their name.
Oh, we got Nick Byron.
Yeah.
And Olivia Mackenzie Smith.
Yeah,
Olivia Day was in the second film I made last year. Yeah, I got a thing for Olivia's.
Thing going on. I'm telling Jana.
Last One Screaming is the winner of such accolades as Best Film and Best Director at the Boobs and Blood Fest, Best Hair and Makeup at the Hollywood Horror Fest, and official selection of many others in the genre. Mid-February, we'll be releasing that one, and we'll be talking about it shortly after. Thank you, guys.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Assorted Kinds.
Assorted Kinds.
Yeah.
Assorted Kinds.
We're also on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Assorted
That's
Do
what
people still use that?
Mom does.
Your aunt
Kinds.
does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell your aunt who uses Facebook to give us a like.
Assorted Kinds.
Copy
Our
that.
50 and up audience.
Copy that.
Yeah.
Assorted Kinds.
They don't know how to use the share button.
If there's a thing that we're not on that you guys know about, please let us know that we should be on it. Okay.
Go make your movie.
Go make your movie.
Go make
Go
your
make
movie.
your movie.
Yeah.